Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Star Trek, the original series, kicked off an expansive timeline that spans 1,000 years and can be broken up into 6 distinct eras, including the alternate Kelvin timeline of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies. Before 1987, the final frontier of Star Trek, the original series, then known simply as Star Trek, took place in the 23rd century, which was canonically confirmed by Star Trek II. The Wrath of Khan. Star Trek, the next generation, massively expanded the universe, forging the 24th century. Star Trek Enterprise became Star Trek's first prequel, opening the door to new Star Trek series taking place all over the prime timeline. Star Trek on Paramount Plus is pushed forward into the distant future, doubled back into the saga's past, and explored Star Trek as a vast multiverse. Star Trek's 14 movies all take place in the 23rd and 24th centuries, including the alternate Kelvin timeline. To understand Star Trek's ever-growing universe, truckers must recognize Star Trek's 6 main eras, and here they are ranked, worst to best. J.J. Abrams' Star Trek 2009 reboot introduced an alternate reality 23rd century, when Nero Eric Bana time traveled from the 24th century and arrived in 2233, the destruction of the USS Kelvin, and the death of Lieutenant George Kirk Chris Hemsworth created a splinter reality known as the Kelvin timeline. One of the cinematic conceits of Star Trek's Kelvin timeline is that certain events and technology developed at a faster pace than in the prime timeline. This includes James T. Kirk Chris Pine soaring from a Starfleet Academy cadet to becoming captain of the USS Enterprise at the age of 25. What's known and has been seen of the alternate Kelvin timeline is entirely contained within 3 movies: Star Trek 2009, Star Trek Into Darkness, and Star Trek Beyond. The cancellation of the long-gestating Star Trek IV means the end of J.J. Abrams' alternate 23rd century of Star Trek. Star Trek's 25th century has only just begun, but monumental events have already transpired in this new era. This includes the final defeat of the Borg and the rise of 7 of 9 Jerry Ryan as the captain of the USS Enterprise G at the end of Star Trek. Picard Season 3. Star Trek Picard Season 2 kicked off the 25th century with Q. John D. Lancey transforming reality into the authoritarian Confederation of Earth timeline. Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, and the motley crew of La Sirena and the USS Stargazer restored Star Trek's prime timeline. Star Trek Prodigy also introduced an alternate 25th century reality where the Vau N'Akat of the planet Solum tried to destroy Starfleet in the 24th century. The 25th century is arguably the era Star Trek fans most want the franchise to continue to explore as a continuation of everything the 24th century began. Star Trek Enterprise retconned Captain Jonathan Archer Scott Bakula and the NX-01 as the first Starship Enterprise to explore the galaxy a century before Captain James T. Kirk William Shatner. Rougher and closer in spirit to the present day, Enterprise's 22nd century became a pivotal part of Star Trek canon. Although Star Trek Enterprise only ran for 4 seasons, Captain Archer's voyages made historic first contacts and laid the foundation for the founding of the United Federation of Planets and the Romulan War. The 22nd century laid the groundwork for Earth to become a major player throughout the galaxy. All that's known about the 22nd century is contained in Star Trek Enterprise, and it's an era that's ripe for further exploration. Perhaps Scott Bakula's proposed comeback series, Star Trek United, could continue fleshing out the 22nd century and how the Federation became a galactic power. Star Trek Discovery began in the mid-23 RD century, but the show's boldest move was to jump 930 years into the future. Arriving in the late 32nd century, Captain Michael Burnham Sonequa Martin Green and the USS Discovery pioneered what is now the farthest point of Star Trek's timeline. The 32nd century is a tumultuous era reeling from the burn, a devastating catastrophe that eliminated warp travel and shattered the United Federation of Planets. Captain Burnham and the USS Discovery solved the mystery of the burn and allowed the Federation to begin rebuilding towards its former glory. Star Trek. Starfleet Academy picks up where Star Trek Discovery left off, pushing forward towards the dawn of the 33rd century with an idealistic group of young cadets redefining what it means to be in Starfleet. Perhaps no era of Star Trek boasts as much potential. 60 years ago, Star Trek began in the 23rd century, and it remains an era the franchise is nostalgically attached to as the essence of everything Star Trek. A rough and tumble era of cowboy diplomacy. The 23rd century is a time of exploration, sexy temptation, unprecedented dangers, and progress. Expanded by Star Trek, Discovery and Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. The 23rd century is nonetheless defined by the historic voyages of Captain Kirk and the Starship Enterprise. Kirk's era spans 3 seasons of Star Trek, the original series, Star Trek, the animated series, and the first 6 Star Trek movies. By the time Star Trek, Strange New Worlds ends, the 23rd century and icons like Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock Leonard Nimoy will have been thoroughly explored. Yet Star Trek's 23rd century will always be one of the franchise's most popular eras, and its iconography is what all of Star Trek that followed is built upon. Star Trek. The Next Generation introduced the 24th century, which has become the grandest, most prolific, and arguably most beloved era of Star Trek. TNG and its spin-offs, Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek Voyager, massively expanded Star Trek's universe, introducing countless iconic characters, species, worlds, and concepts. The 24th century is so vast and still rife with story potential that Star Trek, Lower Decks, Star Trek, Prodigy, and Star Trek Picard Season 1 continued to expand the era, detailing the tumultuous final 2 decades of the century when the mighty Federation faced some of its gravest challenges. For a generation of fans, Star Trek is the 24th century, and Captain Jean-Luc Picard Patrick Stewart and the USS Enterprise eclipsed Captain Kirk. Captain Benjamin Sisko Avery Brooks and Captain Catherine Janeway Kate Mulgrew were gateways to new audiences as well. The 24th century picked up where Star Trek, the original series, left off, made the universe richer, deeper, more colorful, more popular, and guaranteed Star Trek's endurance as a forever franchise. The Star Trek franchise now spans nearly 6 decades, a constellation of eras, tones, captains, timelines, and visions of the future. Each era reflects the world that created it, some boldly going farther than others, some stumbling into asteroid fields, and some rewriting what Star Trek even is. Ranking them is a bit like judging which nebula is prettier. All have their wonders, but that won't stop fans from debating it until the heat death of the universe. So here it is, a creative, opinion-driven tour through Trek history, from its roughest quadrants to its shining Federation core, a flashy warp jump into an alternate timeline. The Kelvin films were born from a desire to modernize Trek for blockbuster audiences. While fun, stylish, and packed with actors who loved their roles, this era often struggled with identity. Strengths: energy, spectacle, character chemistry, standout performances. Weaknesses: action-heavy pacing, inconsistent storytelling, and a tendency to lose Trek's philosophical heart. This era feels like a bright comet, glorious in motion, but burning too fast, leaving behind the sense that it could have built a much richer cosmos if given more room. This was a transition period, a franchise drifting between the optimism of the 90s and the darker trends of the new millennium. Star Trek Voyager ended with ambition, but uneven execution, while early Enterprise struggled to find its narrative warp core. Strengths: great character arc 7, The Doctor, T'Pol, bold sci-fi ideas. Weaknesses: fatigue from oversaturation, studio micromanagement, creative caution. It's an era that feels like a ship caught between star systems, still functional, still full of potential, but waiting for a course correction. Modern Trek's rebirth came wrapped in glossy aesthetics, serialized storytelling, and streaming-era expectations. These seasons were bold experiments, but also polarizing. Strengths: cinematic visuals, huge stakes, emotional focus, a commitment to diversity. Weaknesses: tonal inconsistency, retcons that disrupted canon, and storylines that felt more like puzzles than philosophy. This era crackles with creativity, but often feels like it's trying to be everything at once, forgetting that Trek shines brightest with clarity of purpose. The era that revived Star Trek on television also stumbled before it soared. Early Next Generation seasons were riddled with wooden dialogue, awkward uniforms, and a writer's room still searching for a soul. The TNG movies, though beloved by many, were uneven, ranging from the emotional brilliance of First Contact to the baffling choices of Insurrection. Strengths: fresh lore, great characters, a growing sense of identity. Weaknesses: shaky early writing, inconsistent films, a necessary evolution, but not yet the Trek that would soon define an entire generation. When modern Trek embraced variety, humor, and character-driven storytelling, something clicked. The franchise rediscovered its balance. Lower Decks became a love letter to longtime fans while still telling its own story. Prodigy delivered heartfelt adventure perfect for younger viewers and adults who missed the wonder of 90s Trek. Picard Season 3 restored beloved icons with emotional precision and gave the TNG cast the send-off they deserved. This era is Trek learning to breathe again. Playful, earnest, and comfortable in its own skin, here Trek embraced serialization, darker themes, and complex character work without losing its idealism. Deep Space Nine became a groundbreaking epic of war, faith, politics, and found family. Voyager hit its stride, delivering iconic episodes like Year of Hell, Scorpion, and Timeless. Strengths: layered storytelling, moral complexity, some of the franchise's best antagonists. Weaknesses: occasional filler, and Voyager often reset the ship too easily. Still, this era is a keystone where Trek proved it could grow without losing its soul. Trek's newest creative surge, sparked by the runaway success of Strange New Worlds, honors the franchise's roots while updating its ethos for the 21st century. Strange New Worlds thrives on episodic stories enriched with modern character depth and stunning design. Later Discovery seasons leaned into exploration, diplomacy, and personal growth rather than galaxy-ending threats. Strengths: emotional resonance, optimism, aesthetic beauty, fresh ideas. Weaknesses: occasional tonal swings, high-stakes fatigue. Nevertheless, this era signals that Trek can evolve endlessly without losing its compass. The heart of Star Trek lives here. The 1990s era didn't just expand the universe, it defined it. TNG matured into a masterpiece of ethical science fiction. Deep Space Nine began its slow-burn exploration of politics and spirituality. Voyager launched with a premise that asked how Starfleet ideals survive in isolation. Strengths: balance between episodic and serialized storytelling, between optimism and conflict, between character studies and big ideas. Weaknesses: few and mostly cosmetic. This era is the warp core of the franchise, the era that shaped fandom, canon, and the future of Trek. Star Trek's eras are not competitors. They're constellations in the same sky. Each reflects its cultural moment, each adds something new, and each keeps the spirit of exploration alive. Whether you love the philosophical calm of TNG, the gritty depth of DS9, the adventurous heart of SNW, or the blockbuster energy of the Kelvin films, every era contributes to the same enduring message. There is always something new to discover about the universe and about ourselves. And as long as new eras keep arriving, boldly going, and inspiring debate across fandom, the journey will never truly end. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.